What's up? It's Marco, Sage of Soccer, and today I'll be going over the US men's national team roster for the Yellow Cup, the CONCACAF tournament. And just before we get started, this is a B team. We have the Nations League tournament, which is taking priority for our European players, though there are still a couple guys on this roster. But the priority for this group is the Nations League, which is coming up really soon. I'll be covering that. And this Gold Cup, it should be a good chance for some of the younger guys to show their stuff. We have a decent young group of players on this roster. A couple of core guys, well, one in Matt Turner, and then some veterans who really shouldn't be there. But I'm pretty excited to see how the younger players can do. And there's a good amount of positives to talk about. And it's a lot more exciting than I was kind of expecting. And I'm looking forward to see what these guys can do. It is a B team roster, but we could see some guys prove themselves. I mean, well, last time it was Matthew Hoppe was the most exciting young prospect out of this, and that didn't turn out great. But I think there are some players who could have a really strong tournament. Maybe somebody could raise their value. And let's go over the roster. I talked about him before. Matt Turner is in this team, which is a little bit weird considering we didn't have any of our other top goalkeepers here or any other top players in general. Matt Turner is at Arsenal at the moment, and he is the current backup there. So him not being involved for preseason, I mean, that's a little concerning. I mean, I guess that means he's not even going to try to challenge Ramsdale for the starting spot. Maybe it means he's not going to go out on loan. I'm a little bit concerned that Matt Turner's here. I mean, I guess it's good for the team to have our best goalkeeper available, but I honestly would have liked to see Gaga Slonina get a couple of minutes. Speaking of Gaga Slonina and the team, really good to see him in the squad as well. Just such a promising goalkeeper. I thought he had a very strong tournament at the U20 World Cup, and hopefully we can give him like a game in the group stage. I mean, yeah, we don't have to worry about cap tying him at this point. He committed to us, but just give him some more experience with the first team, and I'm excited to see what he could do if he gets a couple of chances. He is another guy who I'd expect to get a loan away. He's at Chelsea this year. I guess there's a chance that he becomes the backup. I mean, Kepa, Mendy, we're not sure about their future at the moment. Maybe they try to bring in another goalkeeper. But for right now, Slonina being the backup there is fine. I mean, I'd love it if he got a couple of opportunities during cup games. I mean, for him as a young player, that'd be huge for him as opposed to Matt Turner, who really needs to get first team minutes right now. But I'm excited to see if Slonina gets in. I think that we definitely have a couple games. I mean, I'm not even sure what our draw is because the games, like, we're going to win every group stage game by a good amount. I think, do we have Jamaica? That could be a tough match, but we're going to be fine in the group stage, so we should be able to give Slonina a game. Then Sean Johnson in this team again. And with Johnson, like, I'll just keep saying what I've been saying about him. Strictly as a goalkeeper, I don't think he should be here. He hasn't been having the best season. It's been kind of rough for Toronto this year. But if he's there as like a locker room guy, he's a third choice goalkeeper, and if he's helping the team improve, that's good. But like just from my perspective, I can't know if he's doing that. So like I would have liked to have seen like a Roman Salentano. Drake Calendar's already in the Nations League. I would have liked to see Roman Salentano in this team. I mean, like again, Matt Turner's our best guy, and I'm like, it's good that he's there for the team, but I would have liked to have seen another goalkeeper ahead of him. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword. We get our best chance of winning this tournament, but honestly, winning's not really a priority for me this tournament. Like, we're obviously going to try, but I'd rather get to see young players with opportunities. And if we run into like a full-strength Mexico team, like it is what it is. But like unlike the Nations League where we're really trying to win, I think this is more about identifying talent. Then moving on to the defense, center back group is mixed. I don't think it's the strongest group. Miles Robinson there, good to see him. Hopefully he continues to recover from his injury, and hey, maybe he can have a really strong tournament, raises transfer value, and hopefully he'll be out of Atlanta by winter this year, at the very least. Hopefully this summer, but hopefully he gets to move abroad. Jalen Neal also in this team. He was a big stand-up for the U20 team, even though he wasn't at the actual tournament. Been having a pretty solid year for LA Galaxy. I mean, they held him back for a reason, and he's still a very young player. The consistency really isn't there yet, but I'm excited to see what he can do. He's a really talented player, and I'm hoping that he plays as opposed to the last two guys, Matt Miazga and Aaron Wrong. Miazga, he has had like a couple of good runs. I mean, he had a really strong performance against Atletico Madrid a couple years ago. was pretty good in the Belgian league, though it has to be said Vincent Company didn't want to keep him on the team when he was out on loan from Chelsea. And I mean, he's proven to be a pretty good manager, so he might have found his level at this in the MLS, but there is still like a little bit of potential there. So I think it's fine to take him in. And he had one of the more iconic Gold Cup moments before with that thing, but I'm not too excited about Matt Miazga, but it could have been worse. And speaking of worse, Aaron Long, I mean, I just hope he doesn't see the field. Like, he's a liability at this point for this team. And maybe he can do well in the Gold Cup. Like, we're going to be playing, some couple of trash teams. Honestly, that's, like, if I'm being completely honest, like, it's a worry of mine that he does too well and we end up keeping him in the team for another 2 years. So hopefully we just give games to Jalen Neal, who is promising he can actually impact the U.S. men's national team in a positive way, unlike Aaron Long, probably unlike Matt Miazga. So I'd like to see Neal and Robinson play, but yeah, at the moment, I'm not sure what it's going to be. Then moving on to fullback, and it actually is a little bit stronger. We have Brian Reynolds, DeJuan Jones, John Tolkien. Julian Gressel is also in the team, but he's listed as a forward. DeJuan Jones, good to see him back in the squad. I mean, he's a guy who I think has, like, I can understand why he wasn't played a lot and why he hasn't been in these camps, because he's a left back who's right-footed, and that doesn't really work with our system. But we have a bit more of a couple more left-footed attackers coming through, Alejandro Zendejas chief among them. So you can understand him getting more playing time now that our winger pool is a bit more diverse. But I do like him a lot defensively. I think he offers a good bit going forward, and I'm excited to see him play. But it's going to be between him and John Tolkien, between who's the starter at left back. And it's a tough decision. I think Tolkien has a good amount of potential, really strong defensively, getting better going forward. But I think Tolkien's still a good bit away from, being even able to challenge Jedi Robinson for that spot. And, so I don't think potential's that big of a deal right now, especially because Jones hasn't been like a pro player for that long relatively. He's a guy who came through college. I think he actually spent, I think he's graduated as a senior before he turned pro. So he doesn't have that much pro experience, still a good amount of growing to go. So I would be fine with either of them starting. I think John Tolkien might be a little bit better, but I'm a fan of DeJuan Jones. And then Brian Reynolds at right back. Good to see him in the squad. I mean, was he in the Nations League roster? And I think he was in the Nations League squad. So it's good to see him stick with the team. And, I'm excited to see what he can do as a starter. He had a very strong year in Belgium. He's going to be at Roma. He's probably not going to stick around. I've seen him linked with a good amount of teams abroad. Again, another move that could, tournament that could raise his transfer value. We had a couple strong performances at left back or right back last time. Shaq Moore was one of our better performers. So maybe Brian Reynolds can replicate that, have another good year. And I'm pretty excited about him because he's got a lot of potential. Another guy who's a really good athlete. He's got a very good cross going forward. So hopefully, if we have a big striker like Brandon Vazquez playing, like, he could be good there. But I'm excited to see what Brian Reynolds can do. Probably our most promising player on this team, I guess, outside of Matt Turner, but not sure if you really count him. But excited to see him as a prospect. Then moving into the midfield, and pretty good group of players. It's kind of tough to see because this is a group that have had some success, have been a bit more mixed. We have Gianluca Busio, Djordje Milhailovic, Aidan Morris, Cristian Roldan, James Sands, and Alan Sonora. Good to see Aidan Morris in the team. Canada was trying to recruit him. I don't think it's, he's not like that great of a player at the moment, but we just have a good group of guys who, are trying to become that Tyler Adams backup if we play with the six. And Morris is a part of that group, also like Tanner Tessman, Johnny Cardoso, guys like that. So good to have Aidan Morris in the squad. Another one is James Sands, who had a very good performance in the, what was it called, Continental Classico against Mexico. The Classico that didn't even go to extra time, that important. But I'm excited about both Sands and Morris. I really do like Sands. I think, it wasn't the greatest environment for him, but I think he made a good amount of strides in Scotland when he was playing for Rangers. And he's a guy who could, again, he's another one of those players, we're just stacking them up, who could possibly be that guy to take that step forward, be a good backup to Tyler Adams. Honestly, you could say the same with our left backs, with John Tolkien, DeJuan Jones. honestly would have liked to see Caleb Wiley there. But, I'm excited to see what these guys can do. And more offensive options. Gianluca Busio, really excited to see him back. I'm a big fan of him. Hasn't been the best of time. Really kind of a bad year for him at Venezia after they got relegated from Serie A to Serie B. He hasn't been able to really show himself off a lot. And this could be a good tournament for him where he can, show off his skills, get his market value raised up. I'm a little bit concerned because he's not a player who's the strongest defensively. You have to have a good player behind him. So probably like an Aidan Morris, maybe James Sands as well. You have both of them behind him. But the concern of Busio in this group is that in the last Gold Cup that he played in, he was kind of too good for the players around him, and he's a technically gifted player, and we had guys in the midfield who just couldn't keep up with them, and I'm not sure if he's going to be able to really excel. Hopefully he'll be able to show off his passing range, but it's kind of a tougher environment for him. Speaking of one of those players who couldn't keep up, Cristian Roldan, hopefully he doesn't play. I mean, he's fine in the MLS. He's never been able to duplicate that with the U.S. men's national team. I think he's a player who, if we wanted to get the best out of him, we'd have to build our team around him. And I'm sorry, we're not going to build our team around Cristian Roldan. He's just not good enough. And when we just try to stick him into another role, he hasn't performed. And hopefully he doesn't see the field this tournament. And then another guy we have, Alan Sonora. He's been pretty good, somewhat of a bright spot in the recent, domestic camps. I mean, I don't think he's that great of a player. I'd like to give Busio time over him, but Sonora does have a little bit of creativity, decent technically. I can see why he's in this group. I'm just not too sold on him. And Djordje Milhailovic is in the team. It's good to get Djordje back in the squad. I think that, I'm not joking. I think that he wasn't called into these camps before because he was, I don't know. Berhalter just didn't seem to like him. Never mind with that. But, excited to see what he can do. He's a guy who, I think that people are really high on Djordje Milhailovic because he really should have been in a lot more domestic camps, similar to DeJuan Jones. And people were thinking, man, he's so much better than Special Legit, than Cristian Roldan, than Jackson Neal. He should be in this team over them. And when he's treated unfairly, a lot of people are man, he really needs to be in the team. And I'm excited to see what he can do, but I wouldn't be mad if he didn't start. I don't think he's going to be able to break into the A team anytime soon. So it's good to see Djordje Milhailovic in the squad, but again, not too excited. It's not going to break any. He's not going to be anything special for this team, I don't think. Then is that everybody? Yep. Moving on to the forwards. We got wings there. Pretty good group of wingers. Julian Gressel might be playing defense. I'm not sure if we should count him. But Cade, Cowell, Alejandro Zendejas, and Jordan Morris. Gressel, not sure what he can do. He probably isn't good enough to be playing a winger, so he probably should be playing right back. I guess he'd be the backup to Brian Reynolds unless we play DeJuan Jones at right back. But he's probably going to be a backup fullback. Hopefully he doesn't play. Then the other guys, I'm really excited to see what Cade Cowell can do. To be honest, I think that Cowell is just a better version of Jordan Morris. I think they're kind of already at the same level. Morris is he's more experienced. He's he had a really good goal scoring run to start the season. He's probably the better player at the moment. But in terms of actually being able to take his game to the next level, I think Cade Cowell, his floor, worst case scenario for Cade Cowell, he turns into what Jordan Morris is now. And best case scenario, he's able to be a real contributor to the U.S. men's national team. So I'd rather give time to Cal in this tournament. They're both similar players, really strong, fast, athletic guys, good eye for goal. I think Cal, after his performance in the U20 World Cup, I'd like to have him come right into this team. I think he's able to do that. And, I'd have him start. I think, as I said before, winning this tournament isn't that big of a deal, and I'm willing to sacrifice a little bit of Jordan Morris's quality, which honestly isn't that much. I think him and Cal, there's not much of a difference. To get Cal more seasoning, get him more experience, and be able to take his game to the next level, I think that's the more important part of this. And then Alejandro Zendejas, I'm excited to see what he can do. Just been a very good player for us, probably the best in the recent domestic camps, if you count a Camp Cupcake, the Continental Classico. I think he's probably been the best player for us. Another, as mentioned before, good left-footed winger. Have him cut inside. Maybe we can play him on the left, put in crosses to Brandon Vazquez, who should be starting up top. And excited to see what he can do. Another good player in this group. Then lastly, two strikers, Hayes Ferreira and Brandon Vazquez. Ferreira, he's similar to Cristian Roldan. He's never been able to replicate his domestic success with the national team. I mean, unless you count beating up on semi-pro players, which he might have the chance to do at this tournament. But yeah, with Ferreira, he's still a young player. He might be able to get better, but I'm not too sure what his ceiling is right now. Like, if this was a couple months ago, I would have said that I'd be excited to see what he can do as a 10, but he really looked bad in that role at the recent friendly against Mexico. So I don't think I'd put him on the field right now. His goal scoring's been pretty good. Like, I think he's the top scorer in MLS, but it just hasn't been able to replicate that success. And I'm pretty sure he's younger than Brandon Vazquez, but I'm not sure about his potential at the moment. And hopefully he can prove me wrong. He can have a good, strong tournament, lead the line for us, be the top scorer. But I don't know. I'm just not sold on Hayes Ferreira right now, and I'm hoping that Brandon Vazquez starts. And Vazquez, pretty good up top. Hold-up play's decent. Ferreira's much better with his technical ability, but Vazquez isn't bad with his hold-up play. Good movement up top. A bit more of a target man, which might be better for us in this setting. Just having a big guy up front, we're probably just going to be kicking a lot of long balls to the striker. So good to have him in there. Maybe you can have him flick it on to a Cade, Cowell, or Jordan Morris going in behind. Him being a threat in the box, I think, would be really good. Brian Reynolds is really good with his crossing. So, I think Brandon Vazquez would be the better option for us to have start. But excited to see what our guys can do. And yeah, I think that's it for the team. I mean, it's kind of tough to talk about snubs for the squad because just every player in Europe, you have to assume we were giving them time off instead of cutting them from the team. Or a lot of guys are dealing with injuries at the end of the season as well. So not too fussed about anybody missing the team. I probably would have liked to see Jack McGlynn in the squad over maybe a Cristian Roldan. Honestly, maybe could have made it over Gianluca Busio. I would have liked to see Nicholas Giacchini. I think he was one of our better players at the last Gold Cup. He's been having a pretty good year. I would have liked to see him over someone like Hayes Ferreira, or even as a winger over Julian Gressel if we called him in there. Jordan Morris for sure. Indiana Vasilov would have been nice to call in, but not too upset about anybody. I don't think there's anybody great who are missing. And yeah, that's it for the team. If I had to give a starting lineup right now, probably Matt Turner in goal, Miles Robinson, and Jalen Neal at the back, Brian Reynolds at right back, maybe John Tolkien at left back. Him and DeJuan Jones is pretty tight, tough decision there. I don't think we have a great 10 in this group, so I'd probably go with a 4-3-3 instead of a 4-2-3-1 like we've been doing. I guess James Sands, Aidan Morris in the team, maybe Gianluca Busio as well. It's not a lot of athleticism, though, so I know the midfield's not great in this group. Then at wing, Alejandro Zendejas on the right, Cade Cowell on the left, and Brandon Vazquez up top. And hopefully that team can do some good. I think it's a pretty decent squad. We'll have to see what Mexico, Canada, honestly Jamaica as well. If Jamaica bring a really good team, they could be a threat. What everybody brings to the team. But we could compete for this tournament. I think we should be able to give it our best try and win it. And hopefully we give some young players a chance. And even if it isn't successful, I'm honestly not too fussed about it. But yeah, that's all we have to talk about. See you.